You know, they went on to be really successful. Where am I going with this?
Deer Hunter was originally playing a lot of noise and this art punk band.
Oh yeah, but I'm not saying. Okay, yeah.
I'm just saying, pointing to the where the last exit was.
Well, we were influenced a lot by stuff Dave was involved with, and by the whole, you know, the stranger side of pop music, and it was difficult. We did, you know, we had no aspirations or ambitions whatsoever, because, well, look at me for one, and you know, it was just a weird time. A lot of our friends got involved with heroin and drugs and died. And then, you know, my bass player, for example, was skateboarding to work, and a car swerved and ran him off the road, and his skateboard, he hit his head on the curb, continued to skate to work, laid his head down on the table. He's like, I don't feel well. The guy's like, so lay down for a second. Laid his head down on his table, and like 5 hours later, they were like, he hasn't gotten up. And they went, and he's gone. So it was rough, and it was like not exactly like, oh, you know, we're going to get the band together and go on the road. It was like, I mean, we could never go on the road. It's nothing like that. It was like, let's do something after work, you know. And we played really unusual stuff, and it was because it's what we wanted to hear. We didn't think about an audience, you know. I guess what I'm getting at here is there's no ambition. Well, somehow, now I travel all over the world. I'm buying a house. You know, things are going well. This is our 5th album, I think, or, you know, and then I've made other albums. And I never even tried to get into like a, you know, business or anything like that. I had no idea what was going on. It just happened. But then you know, so that's my story. I don't have any, I mean, I don't know if that confuses you or...
Bradford, I think Allie has a question.
Yeah.
So what changed? I mean, how did you all of a sudden start becoming successful? Did someone discover you, or?
You know, that must be it.
Because obviously you weren't looking.
I mean, I really think that must be it. We never sent out a demo. You know, when we played shows, the bass player played the bass with a pair of scissors. And, yeah, I know. I mean, you guys are like looking at me like, come on, you know. It sounded cool. It was kind of weird. It sounded like if you were dropping things down a staircase. You know, but I'm the one sitting here, you know what I mean?
There wasn't something.
That's the point.
That's because you didn't cut your fingers off playing the bass.
Well, I was not the bass player. I played the guitar with a screwdriver. But, you know, I guess what happened is, you know, if you appeal to well, let me jump ahead 45 minutes to my big point.
All right, well, I want to jump in for just a second. I have a footnote.
I have a big point.
Okay, big point. This is regular text. I'm like the footnote section, not like the fictitious footnotes at the end of Infinite Jest, but like actual footnotes. And my footnote
Should I read that book?
Absolutely, I've read it 3 times.
I haven't read it.
Henry's
It's
reading
too
it right
big.
now.
It's a heavy book.
Take time, but you'll do it. Does anybody here know what I'm talking about? What's the book? Infinite Jest.
God,
One.
there's...
Did you finish it?
No way.
It took me 3 times starting it. Now this is a footnote. This is like the A is the footnote, and now this is like the little 1 sub inside that. It took me 2 or 3 times starting it, but it's like one of those things like it's like As I Lay Dying or something, where the first time you read it, it's just like
kind of impenetrable.
Yeah, but once you get into it, it's impossible to put it down. Like I say, it's like 1,200 pages. I've read it 3 times.
Yeah, I look at it and I'm like,
My
I can't
17-year-old,
carry
and
that.
this is A sub 1 sub A. My 17-year-old who sub 1 recorded a song on their record in our basement is reading it right now. So, ambition. You didn't have any ambition to get signed, send out a demo, get a picture of you all looking off in the wrong direction of the railroad tracks.
I want to emphasize something about that. When I say that I had no ambition, I don't. It's not a cocky thing. It's that I didn't. I mean, when you grow up in pop culture, you guys all have an idea of what a successful musician looks like. you all have an idea of what success is. We have it delivered to us by TV and magazines, you know. It involves German cars usually. And like, you know, Abercrombie and Fitch, or I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's definitely like, it has, is that to say don't cuss?
No!
Okay.
In bus class.
You guys are legal. So,
Fuck it, let it rip.
the thing of it is...
We're editing that out. But the thing of it
The
is...
thing of it is, you know, we're just realistic.
But,
I think,
but
'cause
you
we
had,
didn't-
you had
if you look at the
something
illusion
different
of
though.
success, even in indie rock, you know, which is this ghetto that I live in, you know, it's a very small, confined area, and a lot of people, you don't really kind of get bigger. A really big, famous indie rock band, most of you guys probably haven't heard of it. I don't mean that in an elitist way. I mean like most of normal people haven't heard of. You know, it's a subculture. Just like, how many of you guys have heard of an author named Jean Genet? Anybody? I'll give $100 to anybody
Okay, I've heard of them.
that can name, without looking at their iPhones, $100 to anybody who can name one Jean Genet book. He's a fucking famous writer, actually. Tim, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and that's nothing bad about you guys. There's nothing, it's not an elitist thing. It's not to say you guys don't know who Jean Genet is. What's wrong with you? Because it's ridiculous. You guys know what you like, you know, and you know there's different music for everyone. But I didn't have any ambition because I lived in Marietta, Georgia. I was born here in Athens, but you know there wasn't much of a. There's no scene. There's no supportive group like. We're interested in unusual music and cross-dressing. Do you want to hang out with us? You know? That didn't happen. So, and I certainly didn't expect, you know, a wider audience to be out there just waiting for this kind of thing. Somehow, to answer your question, people, I think, you know, the internet has a lot to do with it. And, yeah. I mean, you go from playing a show where maybe you get two friends that, you know, you promise drink tickets to and they might show up, to playing to like 15 to 20,000 people in Spain. And I mean, this is like pretty trippy. You know what I mean? Especially when you didn't think any of that kind of thing was possible.
Hang on, I was still on my footnote. But my initial footnote was you didn't have the ambition of we're doing this to achieve some sort of, we're setting things up to achieve some stepping to some commercial success. But what you had was the ambition to play the music. You had the ambition to create.
Passion, yeah.
And other people, the reason like the internet had something to do with it, the internet had something to do with it is it provided people a way to say, oh my God, I saw this band down at the Secret Squirrel a month ago, and it was the most explosive thing I've ever seen. What are they called? They're called Deer Hunter, and then somebody gets online, and then they spread it around. You had an ambition, you had an artistic ambition, just not a commercial. I'm saying. And now
yeah, and you know, to answer your
question,
question, that actually kind of reminds me of what, you know, I think the way that a lot of people heard it, very first time a lot of people started hearing about us. If you guys are familiar with a band called the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, yeah. Karen is like a, you know, pretty influential person, and she came to see us. We were friends with a band called the Liars, and she was dating Angus, this guy, was her boyfriend at the time. And Angus was like one of our best friends, and so Karen checks us out. Karen tells the NME, it's a very influential British paper, oh, Deer Hunter are the next thing. It's a religious experience. She saw us literally covered in fake blood and wearing dresses, and I mean, it was like I remember that show. I remember thinking when I went out after playing a show that she saw, God, I'm glad like my parents would never see that. So all of a sudden, you know, we had all this curiosity, and then all of a sudden.